Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94, back with another reaction video. Today we're going to react to how the Shield changed wrestling forever. Shield is one of the most iconic factions to ever come into WWE and wrestling, and they are still some of the most iconic superstars we have today. Two out of the three are currently world champions right now, and Jon Moxley is still doing top tier shit in AEW. But anyways, though, let's get right into it. Why is he blurring it out?
I'm Dean Ambrose.
Seth Rollins here.
Roman Reigns.
In early 2014, the entire pro wrestling landscape was changing. CM Punk, by that time, had already held the WWE title for over 400 days. Daniel Bryan was on the rise into the main event picture. Stars that typically wouldn't make it to the WWE were instead making headlines in the company, with guys like Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, the Wyatt family, and more, all signaling the times, in fact, were changing. And then you get to these three: Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose,
the game
and Seth
changers
Rollins.
right here.
These three men were hailed as the future of the industry, and as we fast forward all the way to 2023, we can see that that destiny has been fulfilled. All three members of the Shield have become main eventers for their respective brands and have soared in this new generation of pro wrestling. My name is Grisha from Wrestleology, and today, let's take a look at how the Shield changed pro wrestling forever.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
Upon arriving in WWE, the Shield were immediately positioned in the main event scene. Originally used as a backup for the then WWE champion CM Punk, the trio would quickly disassociate themselves from the Second City Saint as they went on to dominate Raw and SmackDown. They destroyed everyone in their wake, from John Cena to Ryback to even The Undertaker. The Shield made a name for themselves off of the backs of the previous generation. No wonder their first WrestleMania match featured them beating the established Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus. Nothing against those guys at all, but they were veterans by this time in WWE. They had become stale, the same old, if you will. The Shield was anything but stale. Not only were they a great group, but individually, they offered a brand new coat of paint to the squared circle. Seth Rollins was a high-flying and technical wizard, able to push guys like Daniel Bryan to his limit in the ring. Dean Ambrose was the charismatic yet unpredictable brawler with a moveset unique only to him. And Roman Reigns was the powerhouse, able to lift up even the largest of competitors like Kane and the Big Show. Each man brought a new style, a unique style to their matches, making them one of the hardest challenges for any group looking to stand in their way of success, which absolutely nobody seemed to do, by the way, with the Shield bulldozing through the competition on a weekly basis. They took titles and held them hostage while still putting on some of the best trios matches in the company's history. Even to this day, it's hard to find a trios match as good as any of theirs in the WWE. But of course, all good things must come to an end, and after a few months of teasing, the Shield imploded.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
These three gifted athletes would go on to their separate ways, looking to carve their own path in the squared circle. Seth was the star right out of the gate, siding himself with the Authority and becoming WWE champion less than a year after the split. Roman and Dean, however, struggled their first few years outside the Shield. Due to what a lot of people claim to be poor booking, myself included, Roman and Dean took a while to really get off the ground. While Seth was immediately planted as the top star outside the Shield, Dean was winning over the fans almost in spite of the bad booking he received. Seth was definitely given the best programs out of the three, with feuds against the likes of John Cena, Triple H, Randy Orton, and more, all positioning him as that top star. Dean, meanwhile, was struggling in disappointing feuds with guys like Baron Corbin and Bray Wyatt, as he seemed to fall down the card over time. And then we get to Roman Reigns. While today, he's seen as perhaps the best character in the entire WWE, Roman had to crawl through 6 years worth of garbage to get there. Seth was a top star right out of the gate with his alignment to the Authority. Dean Ambrose, while battling through the undercard, still had the love of the WWE Universe through his sheer relatability. Roman, meanwhile, was hated by the audience. He was pushed as the top star, and fans rejected it. As we see today, Roman has everything that he needs to be that generation-defying talent. And even back then, he was one of the best on the roster. But the way they pushed him as a defying and relatable good guy, kind of like John Cena and Hulk Hogan, that type of push just didn't work for him. Just look at him. He's not some blue-eyed babyface. He's a Samoan badass. Yet WWE went completely against that idea and put him as a character that just didn't suit him at all. Over-scripting for a character that isn't natural to Roman Reigns, that's essentially what made the fans turn on him. But that's also Roman's story up until 2020. A good guy who didn't work as such, constantly getting over-pushed and over-scripted. His two other Shield mates, however, had their own struggles and successes throughout the years. All three men are now former WWE champions, with Seth arguably acting as the most successful member of the group. Even when Dean was struggling, he still somehow made it into that title picture. Hell, he was WWE champion leading into SmackDown as the brand split restarted in 2016. But even though he was WWE champion, he never really felt like he was on the level of his former partners. Seth was always presented as the guy in WWE, and Roman was always pushed in an attempt to be the guy as well. But Dean, for one reason or another, never felt like he was on that same level. He had the mic skills, he had an interesting moveset, he had what it takes to be a relatable star in the WWE like Mick Foley before him, but he just could never reach that spot due to all of the bad booking surrounding him. Like with Roman, WWE didn't quite understand what to do with his character, and as he infamously said on the Chris Jericho podcast after leaving WWE, he hated his own character. Whenever he talked to Vince about it, they had completely different ideas of what he was. To Ambrose, he was a badass everyman that will never die. To Vince, he was just a kooky little misfit. However, these days, that character that Vince saw in Dean is almost the exact opposite of what Dean is doing in AEW as Jon Moxley.
Facts.
Which is where we get to how these three men have truly changed the business and planted their feet at the top of the pro wrestling landscape. These days in 2023, Roman, Seth, and Dean finally left the Shield group behind them. Roman hails as the tribal chief, leading the WWE as the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. Alongside his new group in the Bloodline, Roman commands respect and is easily the biggest heel in the WWE. Perhaps the biggest heel in all of wrestling, actually. Roman revolutionized the industry by showcasing just how valuable character work can be. His story with the Bloodline has been perhaps the most interesting story in WWE for decades. Over the last couple of decades, with each character involved pulling out quality performances, Jay's emotional struggles, Sami Zayn's rise as a fan favorite, and Roman's place as the ultimate mob boss of WWE have all created an amazing story and honestly has revolutionized what a pro wrestling storyline can be. Seth Rollins, meanwhile, has revolutionized the WWE from an in-ring standpoint. His acrobatic nature combined with that technical wizardry I mentioned earlier has transformed what a good wrestling match can look like in the WWE ring. Like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels before him, Seth's incredible abilities in the ring have defined this generation of wrestling. His style is almost like the perfect culmination of the very best of his generation. Roderick Strong, Kenny Omega, Daniel Bryan, there are hints of all these guys in Seth, and he has led the locker room by example as perhaps one of the best bell-to-bell wrestlers in the company. That mixed in with his charisma through every gimmick that he's had already ensures that he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. But then to get to where Dean Ambrose is nowadays, we have to leave WWE and head over to AEW. While Roman has revolutionized wrestling through his storytelling, and while Seth has revolutionized wrestling through his in-ring work, Dean has revolutionized the business by changing the very definition of what a wrestling star can be. After years of struggling through the WWE, Dean decided to reinvent himself by leaving the company and transforming into Jon Moxley. And while he's put on some hard-hitting bouts and has had some incredible promos, Jon's time in AEW is about more than that. He proved that the WWE isn't the be-all end-all for a pro wrestler. There is more to pro wrestling outside the WWE. And while Chris Jericho laid the foundation of that sentiment during his run in New Japan Pro Wrestling, in my opinion, Moxley solidified it by leaving for AEW and instantly becoming the top star in that company. When looking back at their careers, they should have done more to revolutionize the industry than perhaps any other group has in history. We had the NWO, who revolutionized wrestling by launching it into its biggest boom period. We had DX, who revolutionized wrestling by helping the launch of the WWE into its most successful era. But the Shield have revolutionized every single aspect of the business. Roman has revolutionized what a pro wrestler story could look like. Dean, now Jon Moxley, has revolutionized what a star can do when given the freedom only seen outside of WWE. Seth has revolutionized what it means to be an athlete in pro wrestling. wrestling. The Shield is the biggest success story in recent years for the WWE, and maybe even one of the biggest in their history. Their legacy has impacted an entire generation of wrestlers and will continue to do so for many years to come. And these three men, who originally came out as nothing more than the muscle for CM Punk, have arguably done more than CM Punk himself in changing the industry. The Shield has changed pro wrestling forever, and I don't think you can argue with that. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and drop a like on it, as well as subscribe and notifications turned on. And
that says a lot. But anyway, so let's just go about doing it for this one. I'll see y'all in the next video. Till then, peace out.